Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Monday, so happy Monday to you. And happy Monday to me also. I'm feeling quite good because I took the weekend off, actually off in my head, and went off from the city. I was in the countryside, I put my fingers into the dirt, switch off my brain, and I feel a lot better actually right now. And I begin with good news, because Swedish Prime Minister stated that Ukraine is allowed to use Swedish weapons on Russian soil. It's very good and very necessary news, and we'll go into it on detail why it's so important. I would say the allowance of using Western weapons on Russian soil would be as important as the arrival of F-16. The Swedish defense minister announced that his government will not limit Ukraine's attack with weapons provided by Sweden on military targets inside Russian territory. The minister justified this by stating that Russia has initiated aggression against Ukraine without any justification and under international law. So it's good to give this communication. And Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, you all know the list of countries next to Russia who all allow their weapons to be used. Right now, the most important countries that should do the same is Great Britain, Germany, France, and the United States. I just want to show you on map, first of all, the range of 3 different ATACMS missiles that Ukraine is provided by the US, but not allowed to be used on Russian territory. And it's terribly important because Russia knows this, and they know that they cannot be struck with ATACMS, so they can place their logistics and bases and air assets quite close, 100 kilometers from Ukrainian border, which means they can actually shell Ukrainian frontline villages, over the border villages, without any repercussions from Ukraine, because the Western powers or the United States is not allowing Ukraine to do that. Also the logistics. Ukraine pretty much cannot hit the logistics. Let's take, for example, the Russian military airfield Baltimore. Yes, there is a Russian military airfield that is called Baltimore near Voronezh. The Russians would call it actually Aerodrom Baltimore. Weird, I know, don't ask me why. It is from here that the aircraft take off, which then strike Kharkiv with FABs, glide bombs, which cause almost daily casualties in Kharkiv, extremely deadly for the civilian population. All of this action could be eliminated if Ukraine would be able to strike this airfield with ATACMS. For me, it is bizarre that the United States is not allowing to use their weapons on Russian soil, and for that I want to spice it up with a little bit of an escalation meme. You have all seen Lord of the Rings. America says, "You have my sword." Great Britain says, "You have my bow." France says, "And my axe." And I don't know why France is Gimli, but don't get offended, French. But now, when Frodo is going, but don't use them in Mordor. We don't want escalation from Sauron. I mean, this is stupid. It's bizarre. It's like Ukraine is forced to fight on a boxing match with one hand tied behind the back. You can barely defend, but you're not allowed to attack. This needs to change, and I think it will change. The sooner the better. Ever since the Russian invasion or opening a new front from north of Kharkiv Oblast, there's a lot of talk around it. The truth now is, the situation is that Russian advances have been stopped, Ukraine has stabilized the situation, and fighting has been happening for over a week on the northern part of the Vovchansk city. Russians are not really able to advance any longer, and they're taking huge losses. But also, on the other hand, Ukrainians are not able to push the Russians back, so it's a deadlock. I'll read you an analysis from a United States volunteer present in the Vovchansk front, and it gives us quite a good overview what's really going on there. Yesterday, we had a task near Vovchansk, and I have a couple of words to say about the Russian tactics. Artillery ammo, some politician shit from United States, and others. My guys and I left our base at 4 a.m. in the morning. At 5 a.m. we were in Vovchansk. Firstly, it was calm, even bugs didn't fly a lot and weren't disturbing me. And that's quite an important sentence, because, yeah, you might be thinking, okay, worst thing, you run out of ammunition or Russian artillery. Think about the bugs and the heat. I mean, this is bothering every civilian. There's a lot of bugs, you just cannot be in this place. If you're a soldier, you have to be in that place, in spite of the bugs. I mean, the mosquitoes and the little flies that bite you, it's so bad. We had a task to find and prepare a normal place for our future recon operations, drone operations. A couple of places we have found were quite bad and dangerous, so we moved forward. Apart from my gun and ammo, I carried approximately 35 kilograms on me. Firstly, it was not bad. 35 kilos, I mean, if you really think about that number, oh, it's not that big. If you really have carried that amount of weight on your back for, let's say, 10 plus clicks, you know how bad this is with the heat and the bugs, and oh my God. This is a lot of weight. And I know many of the people now comment, oh, United States Marine infantry pack is like 1 million kilograms. Yeah, Marines are like super soldiers, superhumans. It's crazy what they do. I don't wanna and I can't do that. We walked approximately 5 to 6 kilometers and took a break, checked the map where to go. Due to specific of our work, air recon, we need to consider hills for better connection with the drone. Finally found a place. Need to say that there is a lot of drones in the air. Recon, Mavic and FPV drones constantly hiding in the bushes because you never know if it's Ukrainian or not. Found a nice place and started digging. It took us a couple of hours, but that's not a finished project. And now I want to show you, because I mean, I'm an ex-infantryman, conscription of course, but still I had to dig those holes. I had to take an exam on these holes. Yes, they actually evaluate you if you can dig the hole, otherwise you're not the proper soldier. That is shooting position from your knees, and you can dig them standing up positions. That takes a lot of time, or just laying on the ground shooting position. That's the most general one, on the knees. And digging that with a shovel, if you have done it, you know. If you haven't done it, then damn, this is heavy work. It's tedious, it's hot, and it's insanely long. It takes so much time. And you dig it just for one night or 2 or 3, whatever, then you move on and you dig again. Being a soldier, infantryman, is just to dig. Every day, all the time. It's not about shooting your gun even that much, you just dig. And now the most important thing, from 6 a.m. till 3 p.m, every minute Russians were firing from 6 to 12 artillery shells. Every minute without stopping. You may count the approximate total amount. 6 to 3, which is like 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, 9 times 60 minutes. That's 540 minutes, and let's take the smaller amount times 6. That's 3,240 artillery shells only with 1/2 of a day. That's how much they were firing in that frontal area. So talking about artillery advantage, then yes, Russians have it tenfold over the Ukrainians. Also add guided bombs to it. Our forces also fired back approximately 25 to 35 mortar shells, 10 to 20 artillery shells, and 15 to 20 MRLS rockets. That's about artillery shelling advantage. So this was a description of a regular recon mission preparement day of a United States volunteer near the Vovchansk front, northern Kharkiv Oblast. Moving by foot, carrying most of the weight on your back as an infantryman, digging a shooting position or a recon position, hiding position, and just observing the Russians firing a hell load of iron your way. That's a mediocre day. Now, my friends, this is a bombshell of a news that I'm about to tell you. Poland will put boots on the ground in Ukraine if Russia achieves a strategic breakthrough from Ukrainian defenses. The Western powers, mostly United States, Great Britain, France not so much, but Germany, have stated always that no boots on the ground, not using our weapons on Russian territory. Well, we next to Russia, the Baltics, Poland and Finland, we know what's at stake. Our countries are next on the list if Ukraine loses. So for us, it's not fighting only for Ukraine, but also for our countries. Fighting in Ukraine for our countries. So there is no option that Ukraine will lose this war. This is why the Baltics and the Poland come out with this communication now. If Russia achieves a strategic breakthrough Ukrainian defenses from anywhere, Baltics and the Polish soldiers will enter Ukraine to bolster Ukrainian forces. As I mentioned before, for our countries, not only for Ukraine. And talking about Russia trying to achieve a strategic breakthrough, they are using a tactic in which they are lengthening the front line and forcing Ukraine to deploy more reserves into areas that they cannot be used effectively. This means when you have initiative, and unfortunately on the front lines, Russia does have initiative. What it means you get to decide where to strike and the enemy has to react. Unfortunately, the Ukrainian army is the reactive side right now, reacting to the Vovchansk new front opening, and now they're possibly going to react if Russia attacks over the border to Sumy. As you can see from this map, Kharkiv is right here. We go north, this is Vovchansk, and Sumy is right here. And now we have Sumy. Actually, we have reports that Russia is massing troops on the Belgorod Oblast near Sumy. So if they are going to go over the border, open a new front, Ukraine has to divert another batch of reserves that actually they don't have. Yeah, the sad fact is Ukraine does not really have much in reserve anymore. So they will have to divert troops from the eastern front, from the southern front to Sumy Oblast, in an area where they cannot really do much because they're not allowed to strike to Russian territory. So these forces are, you cannot say wasted, but in the wrong place, and that's a victory for Russia. So that's the tactic they're trying to use, and reports are that they're massing troops to enter Sumy Oblast. Now, my friends, United States forwarded a warning to the Russian nuclear forces, Russian leadership, that if they use nukes, any kind of nukes anywhere, then United States will destroy all Russian positions and weaponry in Ukraine with conventional weapons. Also, the previous warning was that they will sink the Black Sea Fleet, but this warning is now a little bit weak and outdated because Ukraine has already done it, and they don't even need nuclear arsenal to do that. They have done it with their marine drones. Close to half of the Russian Black Sea Fleet is under the sea as a submarine or in repairs, taken out of action, taken out of the Black Sea. So that threat doesn't work anymore. So United States issued a new one. Now, what does that really mean? If Russia uses a nuclear weapon, then United States will just use conventional weapons. But actually it means more than you would think. Russia has about 75% of their entire army in Ukraine, about 75% of their entire country's military capabilities in Ukraine. So a threat to destroy that with conventional weapons, and we all know United States can do it, from aircraft carriers all across the seas around Russia, from launchers in Poland and Romania. We know they can do it. And this would mean destroying almost all of Russian military capabilities, so they would be defenseless on all fronts if we're talking about conventional militaries. China would do what they want in Siberia. Of course, NATO and European countries wouldn't do anything against Russia, but Russia would never be able to build back that strength, because most of the conventional military strength Russia has right now is built by the Soviets. Russia doesn't have such capabilities to build 10,000 tanks. If these are just knocked out cold, all of them, and that's how it is for the next 30 years. So that threat has strength in it. I do believe so. My friends, the best, the newest and the baddest Russian air defense system, the S-400, which China bought and Turkey bought, the export price is about $1 billion, $1,000 million. It's crazy expensive. But you know, now turns out it doesn't work. It cannot shoot down ATACMS missiles. It can shoot down drones, but Ukraine also has so much more in the arsenal than only drones. And since it's so expensive, and we know that Russia can produce 1 to 2 per year, not per month, but per year, and this is their main air defense. If this goes, if this is destroyed, Russian skies, there are huge gaps, which means just regular cheap drones can fly through and destroy everything from oil refineries to gas stations, demolishing Russian air bases and military bases. In this video, we can see a proof where Russian S-400 is attacked with ATACMS missiles. It's a battle, S-400 versus ATACMS, so clear-cut. Now the S-400 is trying to destroy the ATACMS and desperately is shooting out everything they have. First missile, second missile, third missile, fourth missile. They're shooting out their entire arsenal, and the guy on the control station is like, shoot everything, ATACMS incoming, push all the buttons, you know. Fire. Fifth missile. Sixth missile. 6 missiles against these ATACMS, and boom! We can see the ATACMS circle is beautiful. It's the cluster, of course, destroying everything in that circular area right here. First one landed, boom! Ammunition explodes. The second one landed, boom! 2 S-400 batteries destroyed, and they fired everything they have against these ATACMS. Nothing happened. They couldn't defend themselves, and Russian S-400s are incapable to do anything against the United States ATACMS. So this means the threat of the United States destroying all Russian military in Ukraine has even more depth, since they have an insane amount of ATACMS. So the countries who actually bought these S-400s, like Turkey, who paid top dollar for these systems, and India, who also is waiting for their S-400s. And Russia said they cannot deliver, actually. They forfeited on the deal. These countries, they are thinking twice. They're almost pushed to the United States or South Korea to buy air defense systems. Now, my friends, this photo has some meaning. This is the first photo of Ukrainian prisoners. Ukrainian prisoners are now allowed to join the war effort voluntarily. They're not forced like Wagnerites forced the prisoners to join. These are volunteers and only minor criminals whose life can be changed around by the military. Of course, the deal is the same. You fight for a certain amount of time and you don't get your crimes deleted like in Russia. You get the punishment lessened. So about half of your punishment will be taken away. You still got to go back to prison. And this is a good idea because a lot of these guys are Ukrainian and they want to fight and they want to change their life because they're minor criminals. Perhaps they made a mistake and they know this. Yeah, these are all volunteers. Yesterday, my friends, Russia conducted a massive multi-waved attack on Ukrainian airfield. This airfield was home for Ukrainian bombers, actually, who were stationed on the ground. We don't know if any were destroyed, but we haven't seen much attacks like that. Many waves of Shaheds were sent, and after that, even missiles were sent, even Kinjal missiles, actually. It's very focused and very massive attack. From the early hours of the night, the Russians attacked with several groups of Shaheds. Around 3 a.m., cruise missiles flew into Ukrainian airspace. What are the consequences? Air defense in Vinnytsia, Zhytomyr, Khmelnytsky, Kyiv, and Kirovohrad regions is active. A residential building was hit in Vinnytsia region. There are wounded. Primary target was to overwhelm the air defense and attack the airfield. Russia is focusing on Ukrainian airfields because F-16s are about to enter the picture, and with that Russians want to show that they can attack the airfields effectively, therefore F-16s will be destroyed, therefore scaring the Western powers for not giving more planes. In truth, half of these missiles, and I'm not talking about the drones, but half of these missiles were fired from Russian planes, which if they fired close enough to the border, 50 kilometers from the border, for example, then the F-16 would be the antidote, forcing Russian aviation assets far, far away from Ukrainian border. Otherwise, they would face being shot down by the F-16s. There is a lot of talk right now, and rumors and talk, and everything. It's a huge bubble that Putin wants ceasefire. I'm here to say on this channel that this is not true. This is a rumor, good for who knows for what reason. Russian propaganda and Russian information warfare works in different ways, in mysterious ways, and in circles. Like far circles. If you this obviously is not good for them, you have no idea how big of a circle can Russian disinformation campaigns take to achieve some kind of a goal. And sometimes the route they take is so bizarrely long that you wouldn't even connect that kind of informational campaign with that goal. So I'm just here to say that Russia does not want, and Putin does not want ceasefire or ending of this war. There is no way they can. So much is at stake for Russia. It's like you put all of your weight under the one crutch or under all of your eggs into one basket. There is no way back. There is no plan B for Russia. Ceasefire or admittance of weakness in their aggression in Ukraine is the end of Russian political system as we know it right now. They don't want a ceasefire. That's an information campaign. My friends, recently we saw Russian military authorities testing out a new mobilization tactic. They only did it one time in St. Petersburg. 20 young men were just snatched from the streets. Don't matter what they were doing, who they were, just young military age men, and just forced to the mobilization bus. Their parents rode behind the bus, screaming and pleading to give their sons back. This has not been done en masse. Usually they take immigrants, usually they take outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg, but this was the first time we saw this being made and done for Russian young men inside the privileged St. Petersburg and Moscow. I guess the authorities are testing out how would the Russian parents react in those cities. What would be the reaction if they would start doing this in mass? Because that would be one of the scary weapons the Russian military has. Millions upon millions of men they can just force. Not only immigrants and prisoners like they have been right now or volunteers, just men forced on the buses and forced to clog the front lines. They can do that, but they need to test out how the populace will react. Well, the parents rode behind the buses, they had no force, so they couldn't really do much. But yes, these 20 young men were the first testing human tests of the reaction to the Russian populace. I don't know what the authorities will read from this, but if they like the reaction, they can do this more and more. My friends, now for the first time in this week, I'm gonna butcher you some Buy Me a Coffee monthly members, and this time we have some crazy names. This is gonna take some time and it's gonna make your ears bleed. Let's go. Talivaldis Persins in Latvian, or just Tali Persins. Latvian. Hey, no Estonian knows we're next to each other, but almost nobody talks to Latvians, and Latvians don't talk to Estonians, which is so different. But I'm glad we got Latvians in the channel. Vaine Brovn, Gdanne, Haivod Jach Blovme, Edward Di Lorenzo, Timo Roesner, Florian Rohrvek, Rolands Persins. Again, the same guy. Twice you joined. Thank you, Mr. Latvian guy. Latvian power is present. Thank you. Until my next video, my friends. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.